Hey, welcome back to another Carry Check episode. Your co-host Jared and Nate here. I'm excited for this episode. We have Shawn Price. He's an agent freight broker. He's been in this industry for many years. I'm really excited to pick his brain because we have so many agents that come to us that are trying to start their career and transitioning into this kind of seat that Shawn's in today. So I'm excited to pick his brain, hear all about Shawn, how he does it, why he does it. But first off, Shawn, I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself and kind of tell us about a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah, well, Nate and Jared, I really appreciate you having me on your channel. I just found out about you guys a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, what? There's a community out there with agents like myself that are networking and talking about issues and things that are going on in the marketplace. And I was like, holy shit! So I got excited, and I wanted to reach out, and you guys have me on your show right away. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it was definitely a blessing. I was sitting at home one night and I was like, man, I want to get someone on the show that's just in the trenches, that just never sleeps. And then boom, here comes Shawn Price. And then we had a little chat and I'm like, yeah, this is the guy.
Yeah.
This guy don't sleep. He's always working. We need to pick his brain.
Yeah, we don't see too many people that have this much experience. Normally the industry is worn people out enough that after 20 years that they just don't have it anymore. They don't want to deal with it. This industry is crazy. It doesn't stop. You see something new every day, even after 20 years. And it's kind of entertaining to get the chance to talk through some of your thoughts.
My first question is, how the hell or what drove you into wanting to get into this industry? It's crazy, man. Yeah. What drove you?
Well, I was 29 at the time, so this was like back in 2000, right? And I just finished off a 1-year venture with a .com that went bust, and that was during the .com, right? So I'm like, what the hell am I gonna do? And my girlfriend at the time was like, what are you gonna do? And I was on that Monster.com. You remember Monster was like that recruiting service?
Yeah.
And you don't hear about them much anymore, I guess. But so there was some inside sales job working for this freight company in Santa Monica. I grew up in L.A. in Southern Cal, so I got the job, and it was like, bare minimum salary. Basically, had to learn LTL, had to learn truckloads, and it was a startup at the time, so there were only like 12 or 13 people in the company, and so I was basically just put in a room with this woman that was from Boston. So, I had migraines going home every night because she was like yelling all the time on the phones. But she was encouraging me and helping me and teaching me a little bit about the business. So I started off, I was making 100 cold calls a day in 2000, and I was just calling warehouses and companies and learning my script, learning what are the right questions to ask, how do I get in, and that's where I initially started. And this woman encouraged, like I said, but man, I gotta tell you, I mean, her voice, I sometimes have dreams about it. It's just like, oh my God, just so annoying. Yeah, you can edit that out. So I was there for about 4 years, and I'd say the first 2 years I was making over 100 calls a day, and then slowly, I mean, it takes time, right? And I would get one LTL customer. I would learn all about, okay, what's an NMFC? How do you class it? Why is this product a density item? What does that mean? So I had to figure all this stuff out, and it was kind of, pretty much learning by my faults, right? I was always falling on my face. It's just the way it is. There was no freaking freight 101 training class. So I had to suffer through it, and I did. And after 2 years of being there, I had this small base. I think I was doing like 80, 90,000 a month in revenue, which was pretty decent after I put in the cold calls, right, for that time. And then I found myself handling more of the ops side of it. So the last 2 years I was there for a total of 4 years. I was handling more of the ops and learning about it, and I got pretty good at it. I was doing truckloads too. They didn't really have a truckload division, so I helped start that up. And then I had a customer that makes salsa out of Texas, right? And they owed us $100,000. So they were in collections, and now I'm in hot water because I have a customer in collections. So it was like 6 months of going back and forth with my management and the customer. And the moment my customer FedExed us the check for 100 grand, I got fired.
Oh,
So I put all this work into building, all these loads and everything, and then they owed me 100 grand. We got paid. They fired me right away. Didn't pay me my commissions. So I was totally burned. I'm like, okay, so this industry's corrupt. Great. All right, what's next?
Yep.
so
So
what happened next? I mean, because this is entertaining. Like I mean, it's not entertaining at the time, but I mean, obviously you fell flat on your face. You got kicked in the ass. What happens after this? Like, how did you get yourself up and say, I'm going to stay in this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I was devastated. I was like, holy shit. So I walked out, and my manager at the time, um, she was so hands off, and that drove me freaking nuts, because I'm sitting there grinding and operations, all this, and like she has no clue about operations. She just opens up the Freight 101 book and says, well, you need to do this, because she has an MBA. I was like, what the hell? So I was so pissed. So of course, I left that day. And then I spent 3 weeks looking for a freight broker job. And in that 3 weeks, believe it or not, I was actually connected with some guy that was able to book my loads and keep my customers above water. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't just disappear. So he was, God, what was the name of that company? Global Express or something, and he helped me just book some loads through his system, and I was able to stay above. So in 3 weeks I was doing that, stressed out, and then I kind of forgot how I got it. I think I had a recruiter. That I hired, and there was a job at HA Logistics based in Pleasanton, California, for an outside sales job. I've been inside for 4 years in the industry, so I'm like, oh man, this sounds great. Outside sales, I would love it. So they hired me with a pretty good base, benefits. The commission structure was like 25%, because you're on salary, which is pretty standard at the time. And those were the best years of my career, guys.
Yeah.
From 2004 to 2008, I was living in Los Angeles, and I was out there in the city of industry, Pomona, excuse me, and Chino, and you know I was out there knocking on doors, meeting people, and I wasn't behind behind the scenes data entry, creating all these loads and calling carriers and dispatching, because back then we still had fax machines, right? In early 2000.
Yeah.
So I actually had to manually dispatch my LTL load on the freaking phone, So your ceiling's already right here, because you can't really get the volume if you're on the phones dispatching.
Yeah.
So I loved it. I was outside sales. I was knocking on warehouse doors. I was sneaking into warehouses, and I have some crazy stories, shit, I should just tell you one. I'm in Chatsworth, right? It's the porn hub capital.
Yeah.
Okay, you might not want this on your channel.
No, bring it, man.
They were called Top Coast Sales. So I'm out there, and we called it blitzing. So blitzing was where me and like 4 other guys that are in the territory, we'd all get together for breakfast, and then we would say, okay, who can collect the most business cards? So then we'd go off for like 5 hours, and we just start just knocking down doors. And back then, in 2004, 2005, the companies didn't have really the security that they do now.
Yeah.
Like I was in LA a few months ago, and it's like each company is like a prison, man. There's like a big gate around it.
Yeah, it's wild. The difference between now and today and 2004, you could do anything. I remember we blitzed Denver all the time.
Oh really?
Six, 7 times a year. And we would just, same thing. You're handing out maps, because we were an LTL company. We're handing out business cards and be like, hey, what do you got to Chicago? What do you got to Nebraska? And you're just grinding all day. And so it's funny that you say that you used to blitz in LA. That's wild. That's a big territory to be blitzing.
Oh my God, it's huge. So we would take like one city like Chino, and we'd meet at the golf course there, have breakfast, and then we would split apart and then meet back like after lunch or something, right? and then we would share our business cards and be like, okay, I talked to this guy, and we were really kind of like a team, but yet, those were my business cards and those were their business cards. And then, of course, then what I would do is take 1 or 2 days out of the week, and I would do my inside sales, and I would just start hammering and calling and trying to get opportunities. And because I was outside sales, I had a dispatcher back home at corporate, so he'd handle all my ops. And those were the 4 best years of my career as far as quality of life and having freedom and feeling good. So if you want to hear my story about what happened, this is kind of crazy. So I'm in Chatsworth by myself because we blitzed like back then. I think it was like once. I don't know if it was once a week or once every 2 weeks, but it was definitely consistent. So when I was on my own, I would just go off by myself, and I went into Chatsworth. I snuck into this warehouse, and there's no one around. And I look down, and I see all these big boxes in black shrink wrap. So I'm like, what the hell is this? So then I look, and I see this box that was opened, and it's a freaking, you know what I'm gonna say? It's a 5'7" female doll on her hands and knees with her mouth open like this.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh, that's
So I look to my right, and I'm freaking sweating. I look to my right, and this freaking warehouse manager starts running at me. What the fuck are you doing here? Get out of here! And I look at it, I was like, holy shit. I ran out the back door, ran to my car, and took off.
Oh my gosh. That's wild.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
That's so good.
So Jared, I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, how do they? So anything that's like black shrink wrapped, you have to question it.
That's
You
fair.
can't see through.
That's a valid
I
point.
see why. Sean says we're talking like sales stuff. You did a lot of sales back in the day. Like you guys were called blitzing. It's the first time I heard it. I have to start using that more. For those agents today, man, they're struggling finding shippers. Do you have any advice for these guys that are agents at home, just like you? Just give them some advice. What are your tips?
I do, and I'm very I can't say I'm empathetic, but I'm sympathetic.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm sympathetic is because I know that the landscape has changed a lot over the last 15 years. I think Jared even mentioned this on one of your recent videos,
Right.
where, in my opinion, people in general really don't answer the phones as much as they used to. They let it go to voicemail, right? They're mostly by email now. Hell, even with my business, I'm at 200 loads right now in February, so I still have a few days left. So with the 200 loads I've done, it's all through email, man. Like I talk to my best customers, like maybe on the phone, like it's gonna sound horrible, like once a month, once every 6 weeks. I'm actually on the phone talking to them because it's like everyone's living digitally now, and it's all email. So my advice is, I feel for you guys, especially if you're in your 20s or early 30s and you're really trying to, get new customers. And people aren't answering the phones. I hate to say it, but I was fortunate because I grew up in Los Angeles. So, my backyard was filled with gold.
Right.
That's a major hub. And nowadays, the only thing I can think of is, if you're not in a territory that has a lot of freight, then it's going to be very difficult, because if you can't just jump in your car and start knocking on industrial areas, right, and you plan on just getting on the phone and getting through to people, you need to be pretty savvy on all the, how to bypass a gatekeeper. I've seen your cold calls. You guys are doing great, but there are a lot of techniques involved in getting through. And trying to get a hold of the traffic manager. I still think LinkedIn's a great way to get a name, but ultimately you either need to knock on their door, or you need to you need to make that cold call with a name. In my opinion, like, is John there in receiving, or shipping manager? Oh, he's no longer with the company. Oh, who's handling shipping? Well, who are you? Oh, I'm Shawn with Suntech TTS. yeah, can I help you? Right. And there's always going to be the gatekeeper there, like, sorry, we're not interested.
Mm.
And whenever the gatekeeper always said, I'm not interested, it always actually motivated me to keep calling and calling and calling until I actually speak to what we would call the decision maker, the DM. You know how this is.
Yeah.
But I feel for the young people now, because I don't know, man. Like, Jared, do you have an idea of how, like, what avenues they can take to get new business? Because I've been out there even recently. Last year, I was cold calling, believe it or not. But I was cold calling very large companies.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you definitely have to. You got to get wildly creative. Whether it's the voicemails you're leaving, whether you somehow or another get the shipping manager's cell phone and you're able to text him or her. Mostly, honestly, the most successful people I've seen in the last 18 months, because it's almost like you can pre-qualify. You can kind of tell, like, well, the last 18 months has been this hard. Prior to that, it wasn't that bad. The last 18 months, if you can get a client, it's amazing. And the two ways I've heard so far is just either in person or cold calling. People aren't answering emails anymore because everyone decided to send ChatGPT emails.
True.
And if you can get a cell phone, there's a little bit of an in, but you're either going to piss them the hell off, or you're going to be like, okay, I didn't get crazy. You know what I mean? And I heard a guy actually got his cell phone and sent a random knock knock gif, and it ended up working out. But that could go a lot of different ways.
I mean, you just don't, and that's what makes our jobs very spontaneous, because you don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
And I still pretty much learn something every day, and you have to be an open box, and you have to know that something's going to hit you in the ass, and you're going to have to figure it out, right? Like, nothing is easy in this business.
No, it's like the Hunger Games. You got to adapt to the friggin' environment every friggin' day, and you don't know what's going to happen. Right. You don't know how it's going to happen.
So it's like I wake up, and the first thing I do is I go through. I have a report. We have a proprietary TMS system, right, for our loads. So I'll go into a report that shows me the loads from yesterday, and I sit there and I'm like, please, and for the LTL, on the LTL side, I'm like, please be over like 60% picked up. And I look at it and I'm like, oh yeah, shit, half didn't get picked up, because on the LTL side, it's totally out of my control.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spend all afternoon calling the origin terminals like, where's your driver? Is he going to pick up by 4:00? Because then it's all smoke and mirrors. They're going to lie to me anyways. They don't even know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I mean, like, half the time these national LTL terminals will just tell you something so you get off the phone.
Yeah. Whereas,
the drivers might be 3 stops ahead of your stop, and time's already out. Like, he's never going to make it. So I just got way off track there. But as far as like, Jared, what you just said, you do have to be creative. If you can get a cell phone number, you got to do it in a way. Well, first of all, you might not even know the personality of this person.
Yeah.
If they're hardcore, like stoic, and just, a funny joke might not fly, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I love old school. I'm pretty old school, so I love the knocking.
Yeah, I can appreciate that too.
And you're right about emails, because it's happened to me too. You send emails and they won't even respond, or it goes right to their spam, or they junk you.
Yeah.
So just getting a hold of people. I think face to face is still the best. I miss it. I miss those days, because I was outside sales for 4 years. From 2004 to 2008, and then when we can go back to this new opportunity thing in a minute, but let me just finish my little bio here. So in 2008, the company I was with, the owner decided, and I think it had to do with the trends in the industry, decided to cut off all salaried salespeople. And it was an ultimatum. Number one, you become a full-blood agent. Number two, you leave the company. So I'm like, all right, well, no, I'm going to take my customers elsewhere, but maybe I won't. So I'm like, yeah, I'll become an agent. And all of us did. No one resigned or anything. So basically, salary's gone, medical benefits are gone, and now I'm full 1099, and I've been at 1099 since 2008. So I haven't had a real vacation since 2008.
All right.
No, I'm serious. I really
Yeah.
haven't. Like where I'm fully disconnected. I went to Hawaii a couple years ago, and I was still connected. But to be fully disconnected,
Doesn't happen.
Never.
been 17 years, man.
Yeah.
So I dove right back into operations, guys, and I've been like that for the last 17 years. And I've rotated customers, right? Like I had two. Like today, I have two major customers that I've developed over the 10 years plus that make up 80% of my income.
Mm.
Now, like 12 years ago, I had two other customers until I had loads stolen, right? And then I lost those. But the two I have now, I'm like, I hold them like they're my babies.
Mhm.
So for me, my biggest points for continuing to be successful and getting the volume for me really is there, I have it right here. It's being present all the time. You have to be present.
Yeah.
I'm ball and chained to my desk 12 plus hours a day. I don't go to lunch. Maybe I'll run to Baja Fresh for 10 minutes and get my ass back here. And I'm always present. Sometimes I have to get my, twice a week, I got to get my kid from school, but I bring my laptop with me. And when she's at gymnastics, I'm sitting there answering customers' emails. This shit doesn't end till the sun goes down.
Right, right. A lot of people that think that it's just, a walk in the park. It's a stressful industry, especially when you're in your seat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Continue, man. Continue.
Nate, that's so true. It really is. It's a total grind, and I think that the reason why I'm getting as much freight as that I'm getting, excuse me, is because I'm present.
Mhm.
And I might be a freaking monster because when my customers email me, I'm looking at 4 unread emails right now from my customer, but we're good friends, so I'm gonna blow that off. I don't need to respond to that. So basically, yeah, you're gonna edit this part. God. What the hell what did I just say? 'Cause we're gonna edit it now. What did I just say a second ago?
About being present.
Yeah. So that's why I can't do live so fast. All right. So
You're good.
yeah. So being present. So my customers. So basically, I set the bar really high. Maybe I'm freaking nuts, but all my customers, when they email me, man, I react. Like I'll send them an email within 10 seconds. And because that the bar has not gone lower, like they still expect that from me today.
Mhm.
And they think there's something wrong if 5 or 10 minutes goes by and I'm not responding to them. So when they send me an email, I mean, dude, I'm on it. I might be multitasking at the moment with entering loads and stuff, but at least I reply with checking.
Mhm.
That's my reply, checking, especially if they're looking for a rate or whatever it is, or where's the driver, checking something. Communication is like the most important thing in this business. Being present. Communication is huge because everything feels like it gets miscommunicated.
Mhm.
And then being very detailed. I mean, if you put the wrong PO number in an order, because I do all my data entry, I do all my data entry, all my duplicating loads and all that. I'm posting stuff on DAT 360, finding my own trucks, right? I still deal with billing issues, collections. I don't have to create my own invoices, but I do have to deal when on every LTL invoice that is being overcharged because they're billing accessorials, and I'm like, again, freaking Saya, freaking these carriers, like what the hell, it's just like it's like greed, man.
Mhm.
I'm gonna charge you $100 for every 15 minutes my driver has to sit there. It's like, really? Whatever it is. But I think that I think being very reactive, and so is being reactive is very important with my customers. My customers are needy, man. They're very needy, and I do a lot of dirty work for them too, and that pays off. It does. The dirty work pays off because then they give me some of the gravy. But like, let me give you an example, Nate. So like my biggest customer, they make juice. like TQL will deliver to one of their customers, say like Costco, right? And Costco refuses one skid, but TQL did the load. My guy, my traffic manager will call me or email me. He doesn't call me. He'll email me and be like, I need you to pick up the skid and take care of it and bring it back to the shipper. But it's TQL's load, but I do it for him anyways. So I do that kind of dirty work, and I do it knowing I'm building the relationship.
Yeah.
Even if I make $10 or lose 50, I usually don't lose on those. I usually make like $100 or, you know, something. But I'm like, why do I want to? I don't really want to do because it's a freaking headache.
Yeah.
Because now I got to have the driver drop off that pallet to one of my LTL carriers terminals, right? And then I got to do all this stupid paperwork with the LTL carrier. Jared, you
Yeah.
know what I mean, right? With that,
Yeah.
it's like, what the hell? So the dirty work comes along with it, but I guess my big thing is for the young agents out there is, be careful what you wish for, because if you wish for a huge book of business, if you're doing it by yourself, you're going to have to strategize on how you're going to make that work. If you want to end up like me, where I'm just like, what am I doing with my life? I'm doing 10 loads a day. Yeah, I'm doing like 10 loads a day, 20 days in a month. I'm doing 10 loads a day on average. And tomorrow I'll get another 10 loads, LTL and truckload. But then yesterday's loads, it's going to start, it's like compound interest. Even though I got 10 new loads today, I still have to worry about yesterday's 10 loads. And the day before, this is in transit, this is here. Oh, I got to get a new delivery point. Before you know it, you're freaking going nuts. And, I average between 200 to 500 emails a day. And none of it's spam. It's all work related.
Right.
And I send about the same. So I've gone crazy. I had over 600 last month in one day.
Jesus.
That's like one every minute, man.
Right.
So my big thing is, like, if you're young in this business, I would say it's best to start off on salary if you can, with benefits, right? And have a support team behind you where you can take a day off of work, or you can take a 1 hour break, and that there's someone there that your customer knows, and you have the security of knowing that. I don't have that right now. Even though I work for a huge company, I don't really have anybody that I feel comfortable with that I can just have them as a backup.
Right.
So I feel like I'm stuck. I mean, Jared, do you have any wisdom for me on this one?
Well, first off, I think you painted a great picture of what the life of an agent looks like. You're right. I didn't think about the whole, okay, well, I still got to worry about the loads on Monday. Today's Friday. There's just so much shit to be worrying about.
Yeah.
It's insane. But yeah, if you have anything to add on Shawn there, I'd love to
hear
hear
a couple of things. Kudos to you. I mean, I know you call it dirty work, but it's really just you going above and beyond with your customer service. And there's a reason why people come back to you and just keep coming back to you. And honestly, the advice that you gave today on today's show, you got to be able to be present. You've got to communicate, and a majority of the issues in this industry come down to poor communication, or what potentially was misrepresentation of communication. And you just have to go above and beyond, and that's what you're doing. And there's not a lot of flexibility with your schedule, Shawn, which is wild, by the way. I've met some heavy hitter agents, but they've got 3 or 4 ops people underneath them, and you don't have that, and that's wild. I mean, honestly, it's impressive to hear how many loads you're moving, how you're moving them, and what you're doing with that. And I got to give you credit, because I mean,
thank you.
It's really impressive, because there's not a lot of people like you that are out there doing this. That was why I excited to get you on the show, to get you on the aspect here, and just bring it to you raw. You know what I mean?
So it's very raw. I'm in the trenches, man. I'm at war every day. Yeah. And my biggest customer, I mean, he tells me he gets 50 to 60 brokers soliciting him daily, because he's in City of Industry in LA. He gets pounded, and he'll forward some of these solicitations to me. Does it a lot, because we're really good friends, right? So he does it a lot, and we laugh at it, like how this guy pitched to him. Just over promising crap that is never going to happen, giving him a price that's never going to stick. And I'm just laughing with him, and we're laughing about it. And that's actually building my rapport with them too.
That's awesome. That's huge.
But when you get a customer that trusts you like that, and I guess my other point is honesty is paramount It's right up there with communication. So I think I've survived this long because I've been so honest. And I think that being honest um, takes you so far because you have to be honest when something goes bad and you have to jump into the fire. When a truck breaks down and it was a hot load for production, I tell my customer straight up, you jump in that damn fire and you freaking tell them.
Yeah.
And guess what? That's one of the best things that can happen is when something bad happens, because your customer wants to know, how did you deal with coming up with the solution? How did you deal with it? It's not the solution that's it's not the problem that is the issue. It's how your customer perceived you on how you dealt with the problem and came up with a solution. So you actually become a hero by something bad happening. And so I will do whatever it takes to be transparent with my customer and saying, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to transload this broken down truck, throw it into a warehouse, hire another driver, pick it up, and we're still going to deliver it on time. If we can't deliver it on time, I'll tell them the truth. It's going to be one day late, but we got to deal with it. The act of God. But stepping into the fire and not being afraid to tell your customer the truth, that's what builds relationships, man. It's just like a marriage.
Yeah.
Right. You know, Jared, come on, man. You've had these issues with your asset-based company you're with, right? Like, crap happens.
Yeah, you don't have a choice. And honestly, they're tough conversations to call somebody and let them know that their stuffed bear shipment isn't going to make Valentine's Day, or you know, we used to move stuffed bears for a couple companies, and I've had some brutal conversations with people, and honestly, the only way to do it is with integrity, with honesty, and be fully clear and transparent with them, and say, hey, here's the issue, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm hoping for the expectation. Yeah. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to keep finding another way. And I've had situations where my solution failed twice, 3 times, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to try this again. And you know, you kind of want to just hide in the corner and not talk to anybody. I mean, you really do. You're like, you just want to curl up in a ball and be like, I'm going to watch a movie and drink a beer and eat a pizza.
But you can't, man. You can't do that.
You just step up and do it.
You can't quit. You got to do it. I mean, you know, I've got a lot of war stories. You know, so many that maybe I'll share in future videos.
Yeah, please.
You know, but you know, I think it's really important to do that. And I think that there are some young agents out there that are blowing smoke. You know, with my customer shares this stuff with me. Like, these guys are full of it. I think that the more of a salesman you come off as, the more of a turnoff it is for most people.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to act like a salesman in this industry. In fact, you know, I am more operations and sales, but I can sell anything in this industry. You know, and that's why I feel like my core competency is probably operations and sales. But if I had more time, I would be out selling. Because I know the business, I can talk to people, and I know how to talk to people. But the last thing you want to do is come off salesy.
Yeah,
people get right. Don't you think so? You know, you just talk about, like, I saw Jared on some cold calls last week on your channel, and you sounded great, man. You asked all the right questions, you cut to the chase, and you got your answers, and it was fantastic. But you did not come off salesy. But you know what I mean, like salesy, like you're over promising something. It's like, come on, man, don't blow smoke in my face. Just tell me what you need.
Let's get direct. Let's go. Yeah.
Anyways, motivation for you.
Yeah, no, Shawn, this video, we're definitely gonna have a part 2 when you get some free time. But this episode has been just amazing. You brought some fire today, almost those like drop mic moments, which I love. You know, so I'm not gonna take any more time for you because you're a busy man. But how do people get in touch with you? What's the best way to connect with you?
With me, you can find me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Under I don't know how that all works. It's just Shawn Price, SHAWN Price.
Okay.
LinkedIn. And I'm with Suntech TTS. Right. So, or if you want, I mean, I can give you my email.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can
Definitely.
reference it in the show
Yeah.
notes, Sean.
Yep, I'll put everything in the notes for you guys to look at, his LinkedIn and email.
You can just look under the description of this video and you'll have my email. You can put that in there, Shawn.Price@suntechtts.com. And then, you know, if I can help out any of your subscribers and anyone that's kind of new to the industry or, has some questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer them. In fact, I'd like to do that. It makes me feel good.
That's awesome, Shawn. Thank you for giving back to this community, man. You are a blessing. And thank you again so much for taking the time out of your day to meet with us and drop some heat. We will talk again and get you back on for sure. So be ready for part 2.
Yep.
So right on, guys. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks, Sean.
Take care. Thanks, everyone, for watching.
Good night.